This podcast is brought to you by ShortsTV and is not affiliated with the Oscars or the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences in any way.
Hello and welcome. You're listening to the ShortsTV podcast. I'm Carter Pilcher, and I'm joined, as always, by the incomparable Rasha Goel.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Carter. We are back with another amazing interview with an Oscar-nominated filmmaking team. Producer Maryann Garger, writers Will McCormack, and Michael Gavier are the team behind the animated short, If Anything Happens, I Love You.
It's a beautiful story, a beautiful short, set in the aftermath of tragedy as two grieving parents journey through really an emotional wasteland caused by the loss of their child. Nothing could be more tragic. Thank you all for joining us today. What a touching film you made. I'm a member of the short film and feature animation branch, so we've been watching these films for a very long time. And when I first heard about your movie, it wasn't in my group. But everyone kept telling me, oh my goodness, if you really want to be touched, maybe even cry, here's a movie you've got to watch. And it is definitely a very touching movie. How did you get inspired to turn to this story?
It was a long road. You know, Michael and I, true to form, met at an acting class in Los Angeles. We became fast friends. And we would meet and pitch each other ideas of what was moving us and what we wanted to work on. And I think we were both interested in writing about loss and about grief. And Michael pitched me this beautiful kind of Jungian image of a shadow soul that was disconnected from its human host because it was in so much agony that they couldn't reach one another. It felt like a really beautiful distillation of what grief feels like, that disconnect, and how they're trying to unite. And then, of course, we kept reading about the recursive, horrific, tragic gun violence that happens here in America over and over and over again. And we thought, what would it be like to tackle a story from the parent's point of view of losing a child? And then, of course, we met the heroic producer, Maryann Garger, and that's when the movie became real. But the germ of the idea was from two writers talking and wanting to wrestle with grief in animation in that form.
And I understand it took a year of working this entire script out. Now, were there any personal experiences that either one of you had that inspired you to write this story, or was it just basically seeing what was occurring in our nation?
Yeah, it took us a year because we wanted to really develop the script, and we didn't have, the resources or money to kind of like explore it in a year of boards or animatics or animation. So it was also, there was a money component to we explored on the page, and that's how we kind of built it. We've all had loss and we've all lost loved ones, maybe not in this exact way, but I think we've all felt this kind of grief, and I think that was the grief that we kind of explored within the film.
Maryann, I particularly would love to know how you as a producer got connected and got the project moving. It's a fabulous idea.
So I just finished a movie and I had some downtime, and I was really looking to do something in the independent space. And I'm friendly with Will's agent, Kia Kiadian, and he had reached out and had mentioned about meeting in reading this project, If Anything Happens, I Love You. And so I thought that sounded really neat. And I read the script that the guys wrote, which was, they really took a lot of time and did an amazing job. And it was, the script really spoke to me. And also the subject matter. I thought, this is a lovely way to use art as an expression for, change. And this cause was very important to me. And so that's how I met Will and Michael.
And how did you find an animator to bring this all to life?
One of our goals of the film was to give people opportunity and new people opportunity in the business. And so we reached out to Maya Burnett at Cal Arts, and we said, well, let's see if we can get some brand new animators that had just graduated. We sent her the script. She loved it. She said, I've got the person you need to meet. And this was Youngren, no. And then we met Youngren. She had read the script, and we clicked immediately as far as design, look, and feeling. And it was just a wonderful meeting. Once we got going, we need more animators. And so she goes, well, I just graduated. I've got a couple other people you should bring in and interview right from Cal Arts. So all three of our animators are from Cal Arts, and they all had just graduated. So it was this kind of wonderful thing to bring this little family that they kind of had created at Cal Arts into ours. Two of them, this was their first job ever out of college. This was Youngren's first time ever getting to be an animation director, and you would never get that opportunity right out of college. You always would have to say, you can do it, but get in line, put in 10, 12 years. And so it was so exciting to launch their careers and kind of launch all of our careers into this space.
What a beautiful moment. I'm going to rewind just a moment back, and I'm sure you've been asked this multiple times, but this particular subject could have been done as a documentary or as a live action short. Why was it important for you to tell the story through animation?
Well, first and foremost, we love animation, and we're just animation geeks, and we're excited to work in that form. But moreover, we always knew that this story, particularly from us as storytellers, had to be animated. I think animation allows you a gateway into this world, whereas live action might feel too harsh and too coarse. Especially with the shadows, we thought that they were such an important part of the film. The representation of those through animation was so important to story. Additionally, I think Maryann and Michael and I are all excited about the opportunities that animation presents. I think animation historically, especially in America, is often relegated to a kid's space. We're actually excited that we get to put another brick in the wall of what animation can mean. And we're excited that these stories are being explored now in animation, because for this particular story, we do believe that animation was the right avenue.
And especially an idea like this that has a very thought-provoking point. Integral to this composition was the art design. And it's very specific, very un-animation-like. How did that come about? It's a very interesting part of this piece.
We always knew we wanted a completely minimalistic style for several reasons. We wanted the film to look and feel barren and lonely, like grief can feel. The three of us talked about sort of a cardinal rule when it came to style, that anything that didn't need to be in frame, we would remove it. So we kept stripping and stripping and stripping frames. Because with grief that acute, it's intense and we wanted to capture it. But I also think it worked well in the memory section of the movie, because I think implicit memory works. When you remember the past, you don't remember everything that was in a room per se, but you do remember how you felt. The more we committed to that style, though it was daunting and scary, it was rewarding. And it was a really, really exciting process, that discovery, to make it completely parsimonious and minimal.
Very interesting.
One of the main things we were focused on, as Will's talking about style, is we let the story dictate the style, not the style dictate the story. So it's like we didn't say, okay, we know it has to look like, 3D, 2D. It's like, what does this story need to look like? And so, like as Will was talking about, we wanted it to look like grief. And then we also wanted to put the film through the lens of grief, especially in the memory section. When they go back and start thinking about their memories, you can see on the edges of the frame, there's still that it's kind of washed out and there's gray and black tones because they're still in the bedroom discussing grief. And so that section is still through the present day lens of grief. It's not like they went back to their memory and their memories are perfect, because your memories are always influenced by what's happening right now when you think of the past, or at least that's how I perceive it. And we wanted that to be shown visually.
And huge credit and shout out to Youngren, our animation director, because once we were able to capture the shadows, we really felt like we were off and running, because that was so important. Because I think in this story and in life and in grief, you're sort of caught between two worlds. And the shadows and the humans represent that.
And here we are, a couple of weeks before the Oscars. So, of course, I have to ask all three of you, what was your reaction when you found out that you had received an Oscar nomination?
Well, it was very early in the morning, and it was just very surreal because none of us got into it to chase an award. We got into it for the storytelling of it and the art and the message. And we heard so many no's. We got so good at like swallowing the no's that it was an achievement. And the big win was just finishing it. So that morning was surreal, but almost was, for me, less exciting than just being able to finish the movie because it was so hard to do.
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, I've worked on a lot of independent films, and this was the most independent film I've ever worked on. And I think that there's something about the spirit of indie film is like, you're not making it to play around the world necessarily. You're just trying to finish it and be authentic to the story. This was all our first time doing this. I mean, Maryann's worked on gigantic films, but had never produced an animated short 2D film about grief. But I think that there's a spirit that everyone brought to the film, which is one of the advantages of independent film, where you're all just there working on the story for the same reason. When they call out the name of your film, that it's been nominated for an Academy Award, it's a very cool feeling. A, because I'm so happy for the team because everyone works so hard. But B, most importantly, I think that more people will get to see and experience the story. And that's always been really important to us.
And so did Netflix buy the film after it was completed, or did someone fund it before that?
We were able to finance the film through Film Independent. And we received generous contribution from Gary Gilbert of Gilbert Films. And we were able to pay our artists. But this was really all done on a shoestring budget. We barely got it done, but we did. And Netflix came on as the distributor.
Fantastic. After you had almost died getting it done.
But you also got Laura Dern on board as executive producer. How did she come on board?
I've known Laura just from around town and her producing partner, Jamie Lemons. And, Laura is an iconic actor and a powerhouse producer. And we love the work that she and Jamie do. And they also work closely with Everytown for gun safety. And so we showed Jamie and Laura an early cut of the film, and they loved it. And they said, we'll do whatever we can to help you get this movie out into the world. And, at the end of the day, it doesn't hurt to have two powerhouse producers like Laura Dern and Jamie Lemons in your corner.
Not at all.
And one thing also I'll add is, Netflix has been an amazing partner to us. Melissa Cobb, Greg Taylor, and Ted Sarandos at Netflix been really lovely. We had a few no's from them before they finally accepted us. And we're just so grateful. Eventually they did.
I love that you guys have all mentioned the no's, though, because for the people that are listening to this and perhaps even up and coming filmmakers, I think that serves as an inspiration to know that even when you get the no's, to keep going. Because even despite all the no's the three of you went through, here we are today talking about the film and an Oscar nomination. I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
And don't you feel like we're just seeing animation kind of make its way more onto that platform? I mean, it's fairly new for them as well.
They never did shorts. When we started, and we pitched them, and Maryann was saying about these no's, early on when we had the script and when we even had like an animatic, we pitched it to Netflix, and their answer was no, because also we don't do shorts. It's just something we don't do. And they have woken up and decided, you know what, I think this is something we want to get involved with, and we're kind of the beginning of that new excitement, which is wonderful for all shorts, because it's a great platform for a lot of people to see.
You've helped pave that way. I would love to ask each one of you, when you do a film like this, I mean, all three of you have worked in this industry and done multiple projects, but a particular film like this, what kind of a lasting impact does it leave on you personally?
I've worked on big movies and little movies, and, I got the opportunity to work at Pixar for a couple of years, and I learned a lot from the filmmakers there and Pete Docter, and I got to work on story with Michael Arndt, and, Pixar has the best salad bar in the universe, and you feel like you feel like you're in the major leagues. You feel like you made it, and in certain ways, it is the major leagues, and it feels like this is the dream come true. And with all due respect to Pixar, this movie was the dream come true. This was the happiest moments I've ever had in my life, and doubt and rejection was part of the process. And I learned so much as a storyteller from Maryann and her conviction in me in this story. And I think, honestly, we all quit a couple times, but we were all there for each other to keep it moving. So, making an independent film in this way was really everything I've been looking for as a storyteller, because it was just us, and we banded together and we made a film that we all believed in. So it's interesting to sort of feel like what the dream is, because the dream was this movie and making it with friends who I admire and that I would love the opportunity to work with again.
Fantastic. Thank you. That was very well said. It's a great testament to independent filmmaking, that the journey is the prize.
Yes.
100%. I'm so proud and honored to be part of this, and now it's in the world. And there's this moment where it's just like, it'll always be in the world. This thing we created is out there. This piece of art is out there. It's not out there for right now. It's like I can watch this in 10 years, and I'm very excited to see, how it potentially, I hope, maybe will inspire other artists to do something and build off of it. We watched thousands of short films and short animated films to be inspired, and then to put our little brick in the wall of animation. And we hope maybe someday someone will walk by and see our little brick and go, oh, wow, I really enjoyed that. And maybe it will lift up some other artists as well.
And Maryann, for you?
I think what is going to stay with me, besides, the amazing friendships and memories, is that, you can make something. If you decide to make it, you can make it. I always have wondered, even on a feature level, there is a market for content that isn't in the 50, 60, 70, 80 to $90 million range. You can make compelling content for a number that isn't burdened with sort of needing to perform, when you have a budget in those multi-million dollars range. So that's what sticks with me, is that if we made this short literally for next to nothing, with such strong filmmakers as Will and Michael, and artists Youngran and Michelle and Julia, I really think anything is possible, not just in the short form content, but also in the feature length content. And I definitely have learned trust in the nose. We've talked and we have like stories, and we're like, oh, thank God that person turned us down. And, in the moment, it didn't feel great. And I had to get comfortable in recovering from the disappointment of the no's. And so now when I hear a no, 2 seconds later, I'm like, great, okay, well, what's next? Where are we going next? I don't know. I think the universe works in mysterious ways sometimes and is guiding us even when it feels like it's stopping us. And so that is a big lesson I've taken away from this.
I always say the universe always conspires.
And to echo that, I always like to say that there are 3 rules to getting an independent film made, except nobody knows what they are.
I'm like attentively listening, thinking, oh my gosh, all our listeners are going to love this. What are his 3 points?
I love that you can feel everyone at home leaned in, turned up the volume.
But it's annoyingly true, because you have to find those rules for your particular project, and you just have to stick to them. And ours was like, we're never going to get up, we're never going to give up. We believe in our story, and we will do whatever we can to just continue to move the ball forward. So it's fun because you are making an independent film. No one thinks the whole world is going to see it. You're just really trying to tell a story, and you'll do whatever you can to tell it.
Great piece of advice.
And I have to say, just one last comment, maybe, on this issue. This is probably one of the most divisive issues in America. So what approach did you take to telling a story about such a controversial subject?
We always wanted to come from a place of agreement. I think we can all agree, like, kids shouldn't be murdered in schools. Like, we can all agree on that. We can all agree about these shootings. And I think we wanted to show, just through one family, what that looks like, And from there, I think all this wonderful conversation can begin, because we're actually starting from a place of agreement where it's bringing people to the table. And I think that was the launching off point, because and we can also feel the grief in our own lives. I want all of your family members to come home, and I want all my family members to come home at the end of any given day. That's something we can all agree on. That's a life value that we all possess. And I think it's a wonderful place to start conversations from, because you're starting from a point of agreement rather than this point of kind of such disagreement that you can't even hear what the other person's saying. So I think that's where this film is reaching to, and we're very proud that these conversations can begin from it.
Yeah. Moreover, I think story it's just really cool, the power of story, right? Like, this tragedy happens with such regularity that I think that things become statistics and things move so fast, but not in story, right? In story, you get to shine a light on one moment in time and reflect on that. And I know from my life, I've learned more about the world from art and music and plays and film than I do necessarily from reading an article in the newspaper. That just speaks to that part of my brain and my heart in a way that impacts me more. So we had a proverb that we taped to the top of our storyboard, which says, when your parent dies, you bury them in the ground, but when your child dies, you bury them in your heart. And that was something that we all agreed on, that kids should be safe, and that this has to stop. And that was sort of our creative North Star. That was what was guiding us. And that's something that everyone can be on the same page on.
Absolutely. Well, we thank you all for being here.
Thank you for your thoughtful questions, and we're grateful for your time. We're excited. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
Our
Thank
pleasure.
you so much.
Carter, I really enjoyed that interview and was taken by the passion they had for this project. I mean, they were so committed throughout the entire process.
Me too. I have to say, I think they really were passionate, but the thing that really stood out to me was Maryann's point that and Will made it too, that they leaned into the no's. Every no should have been there. And to me, that's really a life lesson, that no's are the future.
Yeah, no, you're right though. That's a life lesson all of us can learn. So that's a good one for all of us to take with us. Next up, we are speaking to Jeff Yanc, who is the program director at the Loft Cinema in Tucson, Arizona.
That's right. Let's head on down to Tucson to find more about the open air cinema and the Oscar shorts.
Well, it's such an exciting time, Jeff. If you could tell us a little bit about the Loft Cinema and what you guys have been doing and providing for your audiences there.
Yeah, so the Loft has been in business since 1972, so we're coming up on our 50th anniversary next year, which is exciting. And of course, in the last year, the model that we've used for the past 40 plus years was completely upended, and we had to, make a lot of quick changes and decisions and jumping into the virtual pool. And we've actually managed to do pretty well over the last year. Some of the things we did were, as I mentioned, jumping into virtual streaming, moving outdoors because we have this great Tucson weather. We were able to build an outdoor screen at our theater. We built a screen, attached it to the back wall of our theater, turned our parking lot into basically a movie theater.
Wow.
So it's a drive-in without cars. So we set up chairs out there.
That's fantastic.
nice.
And so the Oscar shorts are coming in April. Will we get to see them at the outdoor cinema?
Yes, so that's where we're showing the Oscar shorts. So that's where we're showing all of our movies right now. We're still closed for indoor screenings. But again, because we have this great weather and we had room in our parking lot because we were closed, so we had no cars in the lot, unfortunately.
That's kind of happens in a pandemic, I guess. Nobody.
It does. Yeah, but it's great and people love it. We started it last summer and people really would like us to keep it going even after we reopen because people love watching movies outside and, being in the open air. We call it open air cinema to kind of evoke the freshness of open air, and we're under the stars. And it's It's great, yeah.
It's a different feeling. I think it's a different feeling, right?
It
to
is.
be out there.
I think what people like about it is that you can sort of wander around a little bit more than you would in a theater where you're always in someone's way if you're going to the concession stand or to the restroom. Outside, you've got the whole planet, basically, or at least our parking lot to wander
Which
around.
is fantastic. If you're Rasha, she is never in her seat in a theater.
No. I like to wander.
Yeah.
But so Jeff, how long have you been showing the Oscar shorts at your cinema?
So I was looking back at our scheduling, and our first Oscar Shorts program was the 2009 program. So this would be our 13th, if my calendar math is correct, our 13th annual.
Wonderful. And what has the overall audience response been to these screenings?
Fantastic. The first year we did it, we realized there was a huge audience for this, and ever since, we sold out every screening of every Oscar Shorts program we've done.
Fantastic.
Back when we were open for indoor screenings, we have a 370-seat auditorium that we showed these in all of our films, and we sold out every screening of those.
In the pandemic, how
Yeah.
many tickets how many people are you able to put in the parking lot? Must be thousands.
Well, actually, we're still adhering to local guidelines about gathering numbers, so we can't pack as many people in there as we would like, but we have a maximum of 75 people, but we're doing more screenings to sort of accommodate more people.
Yeah, I think people are just ready to, get out and get back into the theaters. But Jeff, I love, again, the fact that it's not just a drive-in where people can actually come and experience that movie feel and sit in a seat.
Or walk around.
To get this experience. Or walk around.
Or walk around and you can still see the faces of your fellow audience members.
Right.
I think that's important when you're having a communal experience. You need to be able to see people and know that they're there. I think when you're in cars at a drive-in, you see the cars, but you can't see the people. And it's just not quite as intimate.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's really great to have you with us. Can you tell us what days the screenings start and how long they go for?
Sure, yeah. So we're starting our run on April 2nd, and we're going to be running this for 2 weeks. So we're running a program every night in our open-air cinema and alternating programs throughout those 2 weeks.
Great. Well, if I can get out of the UK, man, I'm going to be there.
Well, we will be here for you, for sure.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Just follow the sound of the movie playing outdoors. That'll be us when you get here.
Thank you. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
joining
so
us.
much, Jeff. Pleasure talking
Yeah,
to
it's
you.
great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
An open-air cinema to see the Oscar shorts. Okay, I bet that's date night sorted out for many people.
It sounds awfully romantic to me.
As long as the popcorn is there. All right, well, that's it for this week's episode. Tune in next time for more amazing insights with Oscar-nominated filmmakers.
And don't forget to subscribe.